having left Colorado, moving to LA and being around so many Latinos that maybe you just weren't accustomed to. I know you said you went to the family dinner where they were building your burger, and that would have never happened in your house. But that's just because your parents are drunk on Fireball. But what's something culturally that maybe is connected with you? Because I'm really curious of your perspective, because I can't see the world through your eyes in that way.
Well, don't forget, in Colorado, where I lived, I was the minority as well. So the school I taught at was, I think, 68% Hispanic. So I was one of the few white people at the school. So I did know their families, and I did participate in like their after school stuff, where we did what do you call it? The bingos and there's a name for that. Anyway, we would do, so I wasn't, yes,
Loteria?
yes, the
Yeah,
loteria,
okay.
is that how you say it?
Yeah, loteria is like Mexican bingo.
Mexican bingo. No, we would do stuff, and we really, back to my last year, we started a whole group that was focused on including all the culture that we weren't including, the big thing that we made a change on, and we had a spokesperson about it that advocated for it, was, when we sent newsletters home for years, you didn't get newsletters in Spanish. So parents weren't able to participate in events because they didn't know what the newsletter said. So now we were required to make sure we have Spanish and English sent out in every email and everything we sent home. And then we had more access.
Thank you for doing that.
We had more access to people who would translate, because if a kid's acting up and you're telling their parent who speaks no English, your kid's an asshole. The kid's just going to their parent and being like, oh, she says I'm doing great. So we had more teachers come in and start translating. So that wasn't a huge shock. I think what I'm always going to be shocked about is the bond and the family bonds that you guys all have, and how inclusive it all is. I think just coming from a German white family, I can't get away from my family. Like, I can't get far enough away from my family. And it feels like everyone loves to be around their family. It doesn't mean I don't love them. I think that's just a huge difference. Like, we don't bond like that,
It's funny that you mentioned that, Megan, because a little light bulb is going off in my head, because, Megan's been over to my house a lot. And I treat Megan like family. Like, I embrace her when she comes here. Here's everybody. Like, and Megan is
I'm so distant,
uncomfortable. It's sorry, great. If you saw her walk into my house, like, people be like, she's like, oh my God, they're gonna love me. I'm gonna run away.
Feels weird.
But you know what, Megan? I think that you brought up, first of all, thank you for doing that and acknowledging that, because I think that what you're exactly saying was my role, and I think that also have to honor my folks. To the key of my success in New York Kitchens was I was a person translating from my prep and my line cooks into my executive chef, right? So the executive chef would be like, tell them that go F themselves and what's a horrible job. And I was like, what he's really saying is, so I would like translate the soft version of it.
Yes.
And my line cooks and breakfast, because of the tone, they will be like, he's not saying that, Grace, tell me the truth. And I was like, well, he's saying that in a very mean way, but you don't need to know that. So I would soften it up, and I would be that person who would translate. And I was 100% the buffer. And it was I wanted them to feel special. I wanted them to feel loved and appreciated for the work that they were doing. And I think that, back then, it was a very different era for the kitchens in New York. It was accepted and celebrated to be treated like crap. Now that's no longer tolerated. And I'm very grateful for that shift in our industry, that we were able to it's no longer cool to treat people like crap. And back then it was cool to treat people like crap. And that to me was not okay. Because we're humans and we deserve to be treated fairly and compensated fairly, and with respect. And I'm glad that has changed. But then the second thing that you're mentioning, the person who is my right hand in a lot of the crazy things I do, Chef Melissa Tung, and she's wonderful, but she's her family is Chinese American, and she feels so uncomfortable, and it's like watching you, she cringes, and I try to hug her, and she's always like, I can with you guys.
Try to give Megan a hug if you ever meet her. I should just let me record it ahead of time.
Yeah. And I understand, because Melissa's the same way. And the funny thing is, I just took her to Mexico for the first time, because we're doing a project there, and she couldn't believe it. She's like, es una melcocha. She said it in English, like, this is too much for me. Like, this is so sweet. Everyone wants to hug me. Everyone wants to show me love. Everyone wants to like take me into their family, and I just can't handle it. And
it's overwhelming.
It is overwhelming. It is overwhelming. So I understand, and I'm always trying to be very mindful of that, but that is a thing. And she has a really funny anecdote that I want to share. So we went to Plaza Garibaldi, which is like the mariachi plaza in Mexico City, because I love mariachis, and if
with
I
a
die,
good Italian name.
Yeah, Plaza Garibaldi.
Yeah.
And I want to be dressed as a mariachi if I pass. And I because to me, a mariachis equals fun, celebratory occasion. And I take her there, and we go into this cantina where they're singing, Juan Gabriel, of course. And if you don't know Juan Gabriel, you have to right now do whatever you have to do in a browser, and you have to know who Juan Gabriel is.
Yeah.
And
close out your porn.
She said, I can't believe that in this cantina, it was like the grandmother with the oxygen, walking in with a baby, walking in with the mom and the dad and 5 cousins. And like, that was the environment of Plaza Garibaldi. Like, and that is part of the beauty of the Latin culture. You take your grandparents and your elders everywhere.